Hi guys, today I'm going to show you how to make a fondant ruffle cake. I'm doing it in a beautiful teal shade and it's going to have an ombre effect to it. It's a really beautiful finish to do on a cake. Fondant ruffles have been really popular for years and years and I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. So to get started with making this cake, the first thing that you're going to need is a fondant covered cake. Now I have covered this morning and it's now the afternoon, so it's been about 6 hours. And that's a perfect time to start decorating because your fondant will be nice and firm. I also have some fondant. I have half of it in just a plain white right now. And I have half of it in a beautiful Wilton teal color. I really love this shade and I know it turns out beautiful in an ombre effect. I also have a laminating sheet so that I can tuck away a few of our extra strips of fondant while we're waiting to ruffle them. I have a blue floral mat to do my ruffling on. I also have a ball tool in order to get our beautiful ruffle effect. A small rolling pin to roll out our fondant. A multi-ribbon cutter in order to create our strips of fondant. As well as a pizza cutter, some corn flour or cornstarch, and a touch of sugar glue with a small paintbrush. So the first thing that I'm going to work on is creating our ombre of colours. So I have some white fondant and I also have some Wilton teal fondant. And basically what I want to do is create 6 different shades. Now I do want one shade to be white, so I'm going to keep some aside for that. And I do want one shade to be this deep colour. From there, I'm going to start with mostly white and just add in a little bit of colour. You don't want to add too much colour, you'd rather have a colour that's a little bit too pale because you can always add a touch more. Now once you're happy with all of your colours, I basically pop them into a plastic bag, kind of like a colour wheel, and then I fold it over gently and that way I know I can work my way around the colours. Now starting with our white, I'm going to take some corn flour and just sprinkle it onto my table. Pat it down and get some corn flour on both sides because it can get quite sticky when you're rolling it out thin. Now you can also use a pasta rolling machine for these, but I just find that you can't actually roll out too much at a time because even under here they will start to dry out very quickly. So I tend to need to do small batches anyway, so I just roll it. And the aim with this is just to get very thin, almost as thin as if you're doing a sugar flour. And using my multi-ribbon cutter, I'm just going to cut nice long strips. And all I do is pop it into the laminating sheet, kind of like a little sleeve. Now I tend to only roll out about 3 at a time so that I have 2 tucked away and 1 that I'm working on. And that's just purely so that they don't dry out. And also because you'll need to start switching colours anyway. And now all I do to ruffle this is just place the start of it onto our blue floral mat, working from one side, and you just want to work with your ball tool halfway on and halfway off the fondant, and just kind of flicking it. Come back over it again, and then I tend to come back just underneath and do the same, and this just helps to thin it out so that it looks really paper thin when it's on the cake. And now using some sugar glue, I just paint the top edge of our cake all the way around, and take our fondant and just place it on the cake, making sure that you have a good amount going over the top. And you want to vary it a little bit as well. You don't want to have it being exactly the same height all the way around. And then I just like to taper it down when it finishes. And then we can start on the next one. Apply some more glue at the base of our first one. Taking your fondant and just finishing off that top row. As it meets, you just want to come down just a little bit. And now you can come back with the edge of your paintbrush and your hands And you just want to make sure that the top row and the next row are not looking the same. So just make sure that you keep separating it and making each one look different. And now we're just going to take our second colour and roll out about 3 of our little fondant stripes again. And just so your ruffles don't break, I like to curve it around the cake, right near where it's going to go. Now for your final colour, you don't want the strips of fondant to be quite as thick because you don't want them to come down. As you can see, we are already at the edge of our cake. So I'm going to change this and just make it a little bit smaller. Ruffling in the same way, but I'm just not doing an extra line underneath. I'm just ruffling the top because honestly you will hardly see anything except the very, very tip of these. Apply sugar glue all the way to the base and then rest it right up against the cake at the bottom. And then with this final row, just bring it down so that it actually starts to hide some of the base of the cake. And there you go guys, we have our beautiful ombre fondant ruffle cake. I really love it in this beautiful Wilton teal shade, but there are so many gorgeous food colors out there. So feel free to leave a comment below with what you would like to make your ruffle cake in. I know that lots and lots of cakers love getting new ideas on brands and shades of color that look fantastic. And remember, you can always hashtag cake style on Instagram so that we can see all of your creations.